Tony Daunt, the executive director of the Michigan Freedom Fund, is on our AT&T line. Those are seemingly valid questions, aren't they, sir?
Absolutely. It's a whole host of valid questions coming out of the entirety of this response from the government and particularly this governor over the last 9 months. And, despite the protestations from her about, having such deep pains about the problems people are facing, these businesses in particular, it just really appears to be lip service from her, unfortunately.
Well, we got some yesterday, and I'm going to share it with you here. We're a week away from the Department of Health and Human Services order that suspended dine-in service and movie theaters and whatever else you want to loop into the group there. The governor was asked, which way is the state looking? Are they going to extend that shutdown or what? Here's what she said.
It is too early to tell you what the director is thinking and what our experts like Dr. Caldoun, Dr. Lyon-Callow, and our public health experts are recommending.
The buck's getting passed there a little bit now suddenly, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's great to stand up there and be the face of the response when you've got glowing coverage coming at you. But when questions start to get remotely tough, it becomes a little nicer to be able to pass it off to people who work for you, and one of them who isn't even there, who, despite having his name affixed to all these orders, doesn't show up to the press conferences to take the questions. And I think what she said is it's indicative of this kind of response all along from her and this administration. Is it's all gut, it's all feeling, it's all kind of which way is the wind blowing, who's pushing back the hardest, and there's nothing to back up what they're doing from a scientific standpoint, from a data standpoint. It's all feeling, and it's devastating countless small business owners and their employees across the state.
But they say they're going by the science.
And I say that I'm a really good golfer. But what is said and what the reality is are two different things. And I may play golf well on some days, but most days it's out there just kind of hacking it around. And when they say that they're following the science, that's an easy way for them to bludgeon people who push back, people in the legislature and people in the business community and these restaurant owners. It's a way, it's a way to shut down the argument without really having an argument, to just say, well, we're following the science. Well, if you are, then lay out that data, lay out that science. When you have these press conferences, lay out what it is you're looking for specifically in order to be able to open these places back up. And we just don't get that. We just get lots of bluster and lots of kind of hysteria, and it's done nothing to stem the problem.
The Dr. Caldoun says that she's cautiously optimistic because the latest data, now that supposedly more people are wearing masks, is that the numbers are coming down. They're concerned to see what happened over the Thanksgiving holiday when the governor says too many people traveled. And I suppose they expect the numbers to go up because of that. And she's saying, please don't travel at Christmas. This is going to be a very hard couple of months. And too many people traveled at Thanksgiving. Your thoughts? I'm sorry. I believe strongly that this virus needs to be taken seriously. But I fundamentally reject the idea of listening to any government official tell me when I can and cannot travel to see family during the holidays. And I think people take risk into consideration and do what they think is best for them. The idea that too many people traveled, when I went out to get my daily morning coffee on Thanksgiving Day, you had no idea it was any day different from the last 9 months. There was nobody on the roads. Didn't have to wait in line in the drive-thru to get the coffee. It just simply is a matter of government control, and that's what this governor wants. That's what she craves, and I think it's entirely unfortunate that that's what this has come down to. Just as many people wearing masks over the last couple weeks as there were leading up to the latest shutdown. And so it's just, again, pointing to
things that, anecdotes, basically, and claim that it's science. And I think people are fed up, and I think they're starting to reach the end of their willingness to put up with it.
Well, if you let your mind wander, which I have a tendency to do, you start looking at the things that have been hampered. Exercise, togetherness, religion, learning, and tradition. And you take all those things away from people, what's left?
I think about that often, and I think about it from the standpoint of, I am, without bragging, I'm well educated. I have a great job. Nothing during this 9 months has made me fear for my job, but there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people in the state who, during this process, have had to worry about that. And missing family has been very tough on me. And at some point, these so-called solutions are far worse and doing far more damage to people and psyche and long-term health than this virus could ever have imagined to do. And it's dangerous.
Stay with me for another segment here. Tony Daunt, the Executive Director of the Michigan Freedom Fund, with Michael Patrick Shiels. Tony Daunt is the Executive Director of the Michigan Freedom Fund, and I'm Michael Patrick Shiels, continuing to discuss this morning the effects of COVID-19 and the coronavirus and the shutdown, pandemic response in the United States, and the well, you know the word, and how they politicize some of these discussions and some of these shutdowns. The other thing, Tony, that it comes to my mind, too, is that when you take away someone's livelihood or you take away what they do for a living or they lose that, that is often the person's identity as well. So now you got family, religion, education, recreation, and their profession all gone.
Yeah, like you said earlier, what else is left? And as I was pointing out before the break, I consider myself incredibly blessed that I've got great, strong family network, that my daughter is involved and loves doing school, whether it's in person or remote. And my job is secure, and all of those things that you've mentioned. But there's a lot of people who don't have those networks that are really struggling. And if somebody like me is struggling with this, as we all are, it's certainly worse for people who don't have those things. And, I'm glad you brought up the idea, this issue of employment, because let's not lose sight of the fact that, in the so-called response to this from the government, who take things away and then, look at blessed us, we're coming to your rescue. The UIA audit that was just recently done indicates up to $1.5 billion in fraud. And so not only can they not get it to you in a timely fashion, as we saw over the earlier months of this, they're wasting billions of dollars because they're incompetent in their ability to hand it out to people. And it's creating so many problems that are going to take so long to clean up that are going to be working their way through our country and our state for years. And it's like nobody in this administration is paying attention to or remotely cares about those consequences.
Very quickly, you suggested that the governor is operating by feel and her team. Is that when you say that, are you suggesting that it's because she's a woman?
No. That's kind of insulting that anybody would think that, because feel is a matter of male or female. It's doing it by your gut and kind of what you're feeling, not what the data and the science says.
Okay. Keep us up to date. We know you're watching closely. Michigan Freedom Fund. If you Google it up, you can get the Front Lines of Freedom weekly update from Tony Daunt.